What, I got the heavy end or what?
No, we just give you your part. I had this vision of being able to make liquor while I'm going down the road.
Moonshiners have always carried a warning. Real illegal distilling can lead to prison or life-threatening consequences. When it premiered in 2011, it introduced viewers to a hidden world of Appalachian distillers running illegal stills deep in the backwoods of Virginia and Tennessee. She quickly became one of the network's most unexpected long-running hits. But over the years, that warning proved more real than many viewers realized. Behind the entertainment, cast members have faced serious legal trouble, health crises, and, in some cases, death. So what actually happened to the cast of Moonshiners over the years? And how many of the show's most recognizable faces paid the highest price for the life they were living? Join us as we reveal where the cast members are today. Kenny Law, the third-generation distiller who died a true outlaw. Kenny Law was not one of the original faces of Moonshiners. He joined the cast in Season 8 and built his following quietly, in the way that a man who learned distilling from his father tends to do everything, with the kind of unhurried confidence that comes from decades of practice. He was from Franklin County, Virginia, a place with a storied history in American moonshine culture, sometimes called the moonshine capital of the world, based on the scale of its illegal distilling operations in the Prohibition era and for decades afterward. Being a third-generation distiller from Franklin County was not a television credential. It was a bloodline credential. Kenny Law came from a community where this knowledge was passed from generation to generation the way other communities pass down farming techniques or carpentry skills, because the knowledge was how the family survived, and because the knowledge was worth preserving regardless of what federal law said about it. He appeared on the show alongside his cousin, Henry Law, and their episodes had a quality that distinguished them from the higher drama segments the show also produced. They were not chasing adventure or manufacturing tension. They were simply doing the work, doing it correctly, and explaining what they were doing with the patience of people who understood that the audience was watching something with a history far older than the television cameras pointed at it. His obituary, published by his family after his death on January 14, 2025, described him as a true outlaw, rebellious, fun-loving, charming, and tough as nails. The word outlaw in a Franklin County obituary carries its specific Appalachian meaning, is not a criminal in the pejorative sense, but a man who operated by his own code and answered to his own sense of what was right. It is a term of respect, not condemnation. The health battles that ended his life had been building for years. He had been managing diabetes alongside his distilling career. In 2024, he suffered a heart attack that required significant medical intervention. He was subsequently hospitalized due to a blood infection. The blood infection proved to be the final challenge his body could not recover from. He died on January 14, 2025, surrounded by loved ones, at 68 years old. No official cause of death was announced by the family. The official Moonshiners Facebook page announced his passing with a statement that read, "We're deeply saddened about Kenny Law's passing. He was a treasured member of our Moonshiners community since Season 8. We extend our deepest condolences to his family and loved ones. Shine on, Kenny." Fellow cast member Amanda Bryant paid tribute on social media, writing that the world had lost a true moonshine legend and that it had been an honor to know him and call him a friend. She called him a big guy in every sense of the word. He is survived by his daughter and son-in-law, Kenzie and Nathan Wright, and his grandsons, Atlas and Fox. He had been managing Law's Choice Distillery in Franklin County alongside Henry, a legal operation that was both a tribute to the family tradition and a concession to the changed legal landscape around craft distilling. the distillery continues to operate. Kenny Law died doing what generations of his family had done before him, working with copper and corn and water in Virginia, and was remembered by the people who knew him as exactly what his obituary said he was: a true outlaw. Lance Waldroup, gone at 30. Of all the deaths in the Moonshiners cast, Lance Waldroup's is the one that hit the audience the hardest. Not because he was the most famous, or had the longest run on the show, but because of how young he was when he died and the circumstances that surrounded his passing. Lance Waldroup was the son of Jeff Waldroup, one of the show's established cast members from North Carolina. Lance appeared on the show as a young man learning the craft from his father, a second-generation distiller navigating the specific challenge of being born into a legacy that was both culturally significant and legally precarious. He was funny and charismatic in a way that translated immediately to television, and the father-son dynamic between him and Jeff gave their episodes an emotional accessibility that pure craft-focused segments sometimes lacked. On February 25, 2021, Lance Waldroup died at his home in North Carolina at the age of 30. He was 30 years old. His mother discovered him unconscious in his bed, and his death was confirmed with a statement expressing that they were saddened by the loss and sending condolences to the Waldroup family. The detailed cause of death was not officially released publicly. His father, Jeff, has continued to appear on the show after Lance's passing, but the light in his eyes is dimmer. Unfortunately, that wasn't the last tragedy that the Moonshiners cast have experienced. The demise of the next name on the list is equally as painful. Marvin Popcorn Sutton. Moonshiners did not invent Appalachian moonshine mythology. It found it already fully formed and documented in one man who never appeared on the Discovery Channel show, but whose influence saturates every season of it. Marvin Popcorn Sutton was a moonshiner from Cockey County, Tennessee, whose decades of distilling and deliberate cultivation of an outlaw persona had made him a regional legend long before any television producer arrived in the mountains. He made documentary films about moonshining. He published a book called Me and My Liquor. He was, in the most authentic possible sense, the real article, a man who had been making illegal whiskey his entire adult life, and who made no apology for it, and no secret of it, and no concession to any authority that said he should stop. In 2009, he pleaded guilty in federal court to being a convicted felon in possession of a firearm and to manufacturing and distributing illegal distilled spirits. He was sentenced to 18 months in federal prison. He was 62 years old, dealing with serious health problems. The day before he was supposed to report to prison, he died from carbon monoxide poisoning in his car in his garage. He was 62 years old. The medical examiner ruled it a self-harm. The moonshine community mourned him as someone who had lived entirely on his own terms and who had made the final decision in the same spirit. The show has directly referenced Sutton's legacy across multiple seasons, and his influence on every person who appears on it is impossible to overstate. He is the grandfather of the story Moonshiners is telling. He died before he could see how widely that story would be told. Let's move on to the next cast member on the list.
It's the type of liquor everybody wants and everybody loves because I guess it's the forbidden liquor. You're not supposed to have it.
Stephen Tickle, the most arrested man on the show. If Moonshiners has a mascot of legal trouble, it is Stephen Ray Tickle, known on the show simply as Tickle, whose relationship with the court system of Virginia has been both extensively documented and remarkably consistent. Tickle has been arrested, convicted, jailed, released, arrested again, jailed again, released again, and has managed across all of it to remain one of the most beloved figures in the show's entire cast. His first documented arrest came in 2013. Tickle was found by police in a convenience store parking lot in Danville, Virginia, sitting alone in his car with an open container of alcohol and smelling strongly of it. Officers said he was so intoxicated they needed to carry him into the jail. The fine he paid for the public intoxication charge was $25. The Discovery Channel did not immediately comment. The pattern that followed that first arrest established the template for everything that came after. In July 2015, Tickle was pulled over during a routine traffic stop for a bad headlight. Officers found a sawed-off shotgun in the cab of his truck. He was charged with illegal possession of a dangerous weapon, a felony. His lawyer argued at sentencing that Tickle was the sole custodian of his 15-year-old daughter, that he had given up drinking, that he occasionally tasted alcohol as part of his professional role on Moonshiners, and that he was a promoter for a legal distillery selling products in 19 states. The judge gave him a 3-year suspended sentence. The suspended sentence meant he was on probation. Probation meant he had conditions he was required to meet. And Tickle, who had spent his entire adult life operating according to the specific logic of the Appalachian backwoods, rather than the specific logic of the Virginia judicial system, did not meet those conditions. He was found to have used cocaine while on probation and was sentenced to 5 months in jail. He served the time. He was released. Tim Smith, his longtime co-star and closest thing to a best friend on the show, picked him up from jail. They went and got food. Tickle told Tim he wanted bacon. And then, because Tickle was an outlaw, he was back in trouble again. He spent roughly a year in jail in what the show documented as a separate legal matter, the specific details of which were not fully disclosed on camera. What was disclosed was his reflection on the experience. He told the production cameras afterward that after being locked up for a while, you get the feeling that you're all on your own. Nobody is rooting for you. It plays on you mentally. It plays on you physically. In jail, you are either laughing or you are crying. There is no in-between. He also said, "You can get a lot of stuff back in your life, but one thing you cannot get back is time." He missed his daughter going to college while he was incarcerated. He was not there to take her. That specific loss, the kind that cannot be retrieved or compensated or made right by any subsequent freedom, is the most honest thing Tickle has ever said on camera about what his choices have cost him. The show documented his return to the cast in Season 7 after his legal matters were resolved, and he has been a regular presence since, and continuing to be exactly who he has always been. As of Season 14, which premiered in December 2024, Tickle is fully active on the show, building what the production describes as a dead man's still, reviving an old bootleg route, and continuing the specific brand of chaotic, warm, unreliable genius that has made him one of Discovery's most watchable personalities across 14 years. While Tickle's story shows what it looks like when a Moonshiners original is still charging ahead after more than a decade on television, not every cast member's journey followed the same path. Tom Hedrick, gone quiet after 60 episodes. Tom Hedrick was one of the show's foundational personalities in its earliest years, a North Carolina moonshiner who appeared in approximately 60 episodes between 2012 and 2021, and who represented the living link between the modern Moonshiners cast and the pre-television generation of Appalachian distillers. His IMDb page confirms his 60 episodes across the show's first decade, and anyone who watched those seasons knows that his combination of technical knowledge and deadpan philosophical observation gave the show a texture it has struggled to replicate since he stepped back from regular appearances. He has not appeared on the show since 2021, and has not been publicly active on social media in any documented way since stepping back. His current status, whether he is in good health, continuing to distill, or facing any of the legal or medical challenges that have affected his former castmates, is not known. What is publicly documented is the specific and irreplaceable quality of his presence during those 60 episodes and the gap his departure created. Now, let's move on to another cast member who fought his health battles openly and still stood tall after it all. Digger Maines, facing leukemia and choosing hope. Mark Digger. Maines has been one of Moonshiner's most consistent presences since joining the show. A Tennessee distiller whose partnership with Mark Ramsey at Sugarlands Distilling Company has been both a television storyline and a genuine commercial operation that has helped legitimize the craft distilling industry in the Smokies. He is currently facing something considerably more serious than legal trouble. Digger was diagnosed with leukemia and has publicly addressed the diagnosis by describing it as no fun, while simultaneously expressing genuine hope about his prognosis and his treatment. He has not retreated from public life or from the show. He has continued to appear in Season 14 and has spoken about his health with the specific kind of direct, unadorned honesty that the Moonshiners cast tends to apply to everything, describing what is happening and where he intends to go from here. A leukemia diagnosis is not a death sentence in the way it would have been in previous decades. Treatment has advanced significantly. The specific type and stage of his diagnosis determines the trajectory considerably. What is publicly known is that Digger has been receiving treatment and has chosen to be transparent about it with the audience that has followed him across multiple seasons. His continued presence on the show is both practically significant. Sugarlands Distilling Company is a real business with real employees and real investors, and his public profile is part of what sustains it, and personally significant to the fans who have watched him for years and who have been following his health updates with genuine concern. But Tim Smith's continued presence raises a larger question. After more than 13 years, countless cast changes, personal tragedies, and major life transitions, how has Moonshiners itself managed to keep going? The show itself in 2026. Season 14 of Moonshiners premiered on December 12, 2024, more than 13 years after the show first aired. It is still running on Discovery and Max. It is still drawing viewers who have been following these specific people and this specific subculture for over a decade. And it is still producing episodes that carry the weight of everything that has happened to its cast across those years. Tim Smith, the show's anchor since Season 1, the man who has navigated the transition from full outlaw distiller to legal climax moonshine brand owner more successfully than anyone else in the cast, is still appearing in Season 14, mentoring younger distillers, tackling special projects, and representing the specific kind of longevity that comes from being both genuinely skilled and genuinely adaptable. He is the only founding cast member who has been present across all 14 seasons, and his continued presence is both the show's greatest continuity asset and the clearest evidence that it is possible to spend your life in this world without being destroyed by it. Tickle is still there, still building stills in the backwoods of Virginia, still the most charismatic legal disaster on the show, still, apparently, incapable of operating without some degree of chaos in his immediate vicinity. Digger is still there, filming with Sugarlands while managing his leukemia treatment, because the work and the community around it appear to be part of what is sustaining him through the treatment. The cast of Moonshiners in 2026 is a living document of what it costs to build an identity around an illegal craft in a part of America where that craft is both cultural heritage and genuine legal exposure. The people who have died at various ages from various causes, carrying various amounts of the specific damage that comes from decades of physical work in difficult conditions. The people who have been to jail went for the things that their lifestyle made more likely: weapons charges, substance violations, the cascading legal consequences of operating outside the law in ways that eventually catch up with almost everyone who does it long enough. The show put a camera on all of it and has been doing so for 14 seasons. What the camera has accumulated across that time is one of the more honest portraits of a specific American subculture that television has ever produced. Not because it never dramatizes or embellishes, but because the real story of these people's lives is dramatic enough that embellishment is largely unnecessary. For some of these moonshiners, the warning became reality. For others, it became a lesson they survived. But after 14 seasons, one question remains. Was the risk ever really about the whiskey? Or was it about preserving a way of life that they believed was worth any price? And what does it say about who these people are that the ones who are still alive are still making moonshine? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.